Hi, everyone. Chad Burton here with Billy Tarasio from Modern Law Practice. How are you doing today, Billy?
Hey, doing good.
Good. What's new with you?
Not a lot.
Well, let's preview maybe a future discussion, even though it's not our topic. But you had mentioned last time that there had been some progress with your retail space.
Yep, it's coming along. It's coming along. So today's June 15th. I got the lease June 1st unexpectedly. And now June 15th, the paint's done, the walls are repaired. Tile needs to be cleaned. Furniture gets delivered next week. I've got the staffing all set up because it was a little different to figure out how to staff something that is open in the evenings and on the weekends. I've got that figured out. So it's coming along.
Good. And you have, so July-ish is when this is opening.
July 1's the goal. That's in 2 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if it was pushed out the week after 4th of July, which would be totally fine. But all in all, it's been fairly smooth. There have been some bumps with signage. The signage that I had planned, they rejected and said it was covering up too much of the windows and things like that. But that's okay. We're being flexible. We're taking this with a very curious, creative attitude.
It's a learning process. Cool. All right. So today, what we want to talk about is a topic that is ongoing, that seems like it pops up every day in the sense that I could scroll through Apple News and see, what businesses are doing as it relates to, returning from the pandemic or staying remote. So we want to kind of dive in and maybe cover different things we've seen law firms do over the past year and a half, uh, how people have made adjustments, themes, challenges where maybe things will go, maybe not. So let's start with you, Billy. So what, I know we've talked about this off and on over the past, month or so, but you are mostly back in the office now with people still working remote as they want.
I would say our workflow has forever changed.
How so?
We used to be a one primary office with satellite locations only for meetings, most people in the office most days. There was really only one attorney that was remote the majority of the time, even though I was super flexible and didn't have like a set policy. Our only set policy was that for the first 90 days, you had to be in the office for training. And then after that, you were free to work wherever you wanted. But most people came into the office most days, and I had a space issue, and we were running out of room, and we were packing people into space, and that has completely changed.
Got it. So now it's the opposite. People are staying remote and coming in when they
As
want,
needed. Yeah,
as
as
needed.
needed. The only thing that we did was, we do these quarterly retreats, and one of the things that people missed was seeing one another. So we said on Fridays for your company meeting, go to your home office and have lunch with the people who are also near you, who live nearby, and the company will buy lunch. And that's the time when we get to see each other once a week.
Got it. And what are you seeing from a client perspective?
Clients are definitely wanting to do more in-person meetings than they did during the pandemic. But they're also more comfortable with Zoom meetings than they were prior to the pandemic. So hearings are taking place, in office. Even if they're virtual hearings, the clients are coming into the office to sit with the attorney to do the virtual hearing. And major strategy sessions are happening in person, but many of the meetings are happening via Zoom, more so than before.
Got it. It's interesting because, like, having the benefit of talking to law firms, law firm owners, and meeting with law firms around the country is like it's all over the place. Like there's not like some people's client bases are absolutely they want to be in the office. Some never want to be in the office, and we can be even specific to like family law firms. Like this isn't a, and I think the discussion of, because pre-pandemic when we talked about like virtual space versus office space, it was always this everybody liked to say, it seemed that like, well, with my practice area, we need offices because of this. Everybody, like, I think you even said it, because of like, this is what clients want. Well, things happened over the past year and a half, and clients don't want the same thing. And everybody's learned while there's lots of benefits to being in the office, like you articulated, as far as the community, perspective is concerned, like everybody recognizes that regardless of practice area, you can be remote in some fashion. What that is going to vary. We're working with firms where they're very traditional pre-pandemic, forced into distributed, work, and now we're never going back.
Hmm.
And you talk about these lawyers, and like you would think that like this was something that like, I mean, this was never on their radar. And talking about selling office space, you've gone the opposite way, like we've been talking about adding stuff on, but it would be interesting to see over time if we see any trends of people that were more flexible pre-pandemic, have gone a different direction, and those who were less flexible are now like free for all or some version of that. I mean, it's probably too early to tell, but it's real fascinating, like how everyone is all over the board at this point.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, one of the most interesting things for me is that I really preferred in-person consultations before, and now I think Zoom consultation can be absolutely as effective. I still like Zoom better than phone, um, but there's really no reason at that stage to have it be in person. There are some people who, and it's so client specific as well. And so part of what we try to do is be mindful of what are the client's preferences, or what are in each individual's preferences, and how do we make it work. I think the truth is, like, we all have more flexibility now than we've ever had.
Right. And you can do a hybrid approach. Like, I mean, that's what you're doing, right? Is have office space and be remote. And I think that's the answer. I think at the end of the day, for most firms, it's going to be a hybrid approach. You're going to have clients that want to come in, you're going to have team members that need to be in the office. We know throughout the pandemic, there were firms that even when, in states that were the most shut down, law firms were, essential offices or workers, so that, we can have people in the office. So like, I know our clients would have people that just weren't thriving or functioning within their home environment for lots of reasons. They would be the one person in the office because that's where so it's real fascinating. Like, just, at the end of the day, we're talking about like, a hybrid approach, which is entertaining in the sense that firms have been doing this for a long time. Maybe not as fluid, or maybe not recognizing, but they have been doing this for a long time. It's just now it's articulated differently and more commonplace, I guess, or more accepted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, culture change is just sped up.
Right. Absolutely. And you are, services like virtual receptionists and outsourced, professional services that to traditional models or traditional law offices before this, they felt like it just felt too impersonal. But now they're seeing what it's like to interact, like you just said, with Zoom uh, consultations being as effective. Now, like, oh, there's just a different way to do this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I thought our topic today was on basically failed predictions. Because when the pandemic started, we all started making predictions, and some of us started making moves. Some people shut down their whole firm, fired people, downsized immediately. Other people immediately decreased their revenue goals. Some people doubled down and grew huge. And we were all making predictions. And it's interesting to see which of those were true and which of those were false. And does it matter?
It doesn't, because people, I mean, I know that when people, like a lot of people that maybe lowered revenue goals, they still met their original one. But at the time when it was so up in the air, you just didn't know.
Mhm.
It'd be interesting to, and I haven't had a lot of conversations with, like, I know our clients didn't fire everyone, or not fire them, let them go and downsize real quick. But it'd be interesting to see how the firms that did do that, I'm guessing mostly in the criminal defense world, um, how they've recovered at this point.
Yeah,
Have you had any of those conversations? I know we've got some folks that we know that have done that. Do you know how they've recovered?
um, I know that, so I know a good friend of mine is a criminal defense lawyer and fired all of his attorneys and went real lean. He's a risk adverse guy and focused on DUIs like a lot of criminal law attorneys do. And of course, that market dried up. And then you were talking to me about one of our clients who also does criminal law, who focused on um, domestic violence and
Right.
did just fine, which is
Right. Yeah, I mean, the shift away from uh DUI type cases occurred pre-pandemic.
mm,
And so, or right around the same time. And so that shift, good timing on that front because obviously those issues still exist.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely time to like think differently about your practice. I predicted, and I think many people predicted that the economy was going to crash and that bankruptcy was going to go up and that we were going to see something like a 2008, um, you know, housing bubble and poverty. And that has not happened.
Right. Yeah, that is true. I guess from like a law firm business model perspective, like I mean, I don't think I made predictions because like the issue that I like, so when this all started, I started looking for old articles that might be relevant and podcasts and videos and things like that that have been talking about on virtual work to see, one, I was curious what is relevant now, and two, what has changed. Um, I think I dug up like 60 things, pieces of media. And with the exception of features of technology changing, it's the same thing that's been going on for 10 years and the same discussions. And I looked at other people's articles on this. So what basically it was, a shift towards, flexibility. So there
Mhm,
was nothing magical about the difference in how we operate. And so
mhm.
yeah, some people went absolutely back to where they were pre-pandemic as far as just going straight back to the office, getting everybody in as quickly as possible. But I think for the most part, people are just recognizing flexibility. And
Yeah. And
that's
I'll
the
tell
answer.
you, like, we were able to attract employees who never would have been employees had we not been in an environment where it was 100% acceptable for them to be remote 100% of the time. So that was not our standard before the pandemic.
Right.
And it allowed us to attract a different workforce and I think a better workforce.
And I think that the biggest thing going forward is looking at how you uh, looking at how you interact with your people.
Mhm,
So if you're full time in the office, it's super easy to figure out, where everybody is at any time. And if you walk down the hall, you can interact with people. People, at happy hours and things like that. Now you just have to be a little bit more creative and more
mhm,
intentional with meetings. I mean, you do one-on-one meetings, you have your weekly team meeting, you hold those pretty religiously still,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
um, More and more people are implementing those because they can't just walk down the hall and have a quick conversation and feel like they've caught up with somebody. So a lot of it is just being more intentional about how you keep up with your team. Summer's here, places are open, even California, which has been, ridiculously shut down. I think it opened today, actually.
oh,
The state just opened today, I think.
hmm,
And um, and so the summer, if you're remaining remote, you have to think about, okay, the intentional meetings, team meetings, one-on-one meetings, but also like, how do you get people together to have fun? I mean, that's what you talked about with retreats is an opportunity for people to gather as a community. You recently had an evening happy hour type thing that brought people together. That was super helpful. So people need to be really intentional about how do you spend some creative time this summer, interacting with your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's crazy is, so the past several years, I've done these big trips. I'd never done them before up until really the past several years. And um, what's crazy to me is how inexpensive they've been and how effective getting people out of the office, not even just for half a day, but just a couple days at a time,
Yep.
and in a new environment, and kind of bringing in um, different space can lead to fantastic work and really great bonding. So I mean, we've got a fun committee that does this. These are the people on the firm who like to do party planning, and they just booked a trip to Cabo for 3 days in October for, I think right now we're at 28 total people, and we're my budget was 30,000 and they're at 21,000. They're at $21,000 for 28 people to go to an all-inclusive resort in Cabo. So I think think about these things differently. Somehow I can't go on vacation with my kids for less than $5,000, but I can take 28 people for 21,000. And so there's some real advantages to the bulk planning.
Maybe you need to have your fun committee plan your family vacations.
Maybe I do.
Maybe they're better at it.
Oh, without a doubt, they're better at it. But that would probably be misappropriation of my employees.
Probably for sure. So bottom line, predictions, nobody really knew, because that's how predictions go, especially within the legal industry. We make stuff up all the time. Lawyers aren't robots at this point. That prediction went out the door. People are going back to work going forward. It's what else besides taking care of your people do you see as like the main things to focus on?
Well, I think the pandemic allowed us to change and challenge our assumptions. And so our culture was a mostly work from the office culture. That's changed now. And people are happier. And that's true for the whole globe, really. People went home for a year and now they don't want to be told that they have to go back to work. And we as bosses are reading, if you're reading the same articles I'm reading, it's that 26% of people are going to quit their jobs this year.
Right.
I don't like that, but my people are not those 26% because I am listening. They're not.
They're not. And if they are listening to this, they better not.
They better not. No. They're happy.
No
and I'm
Cabo
not
for
them.
you.
What?
No Cabo for you if you quit.
Well, yeah, that's another reason you plan vacations. Retention.
Right.
It's not just retention though. Like 2 years ago on our cruise, we came up with our hiring guidelines. Our hiring guidelines have now been used, 10 to 12 times since that cruise with outstandingly good results. And we never would have been able to put that together. I couldn't have done it on my own. We had to do it together. It had to be a fun group activity and a project. And we needed our creatives plus our very focused technicians to come up with this policy. And then we needed to implement it and change it. And it's just working. So I'd say the other real opportunity here is to be curious, let go of your assumptions and your convictions on how things have to be, and really listen to your people. And if you ask them to think about what's best for the firm, or how do we make sure to take care of our clients while we do this, they will not let you down if you have the right people. And if you don't, you got to get rid of them.
On that note, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Cut them.
No, what I'm saying
I
is
know what you're saying.
Lean in and invest and invite them to be part of the process. And if they don't want to be part of the process, then they're self-selecting out. You're not firing them. They are quitting.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Billy.
Thanks. Bye.